It's time now for business, and for that we're going to be focusing on one of the major points of contention, the farmer protests that have been taking place all across Europe, a free trade deal between the EU and South American bloc Mercosur. We're joined now in the studio by Charles Pellegrin from our business desk.
That's right, Haxi. European farmers are worried that opening the market to agricultural goods from that South American bloc will lead to unfair competition. As a reminder, Mercosur as a bloc includes 4 countries: Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And the deal with the EU has been stereotyped as a, quote, German cars for Argentine beef agreement by critics, meaning it favors 2 very narrow but powerful industries. Now, negotiations between the 2 blocs started in the late 90s, and a text was only agreed to in 2019, but the EU has since come back to the table asking for more guarantees on environmental commitments before the deal is ratified by each member state. It would create a market of 780 million people with trade volumes of 45 to 50 billion euros. EU exports like German cars or French wine, for instance, would be sold in South America without any tariffs being applied, leading to about 4 billion euros of savings every year. And Mercosur goods like Argentine beef would be given import quotas with preferential tariffs. Depending on the type of agricultural goods, these tariffs would be also entirely scrapped. For instance, for quotas of honey, rice, sugar, or poultry, 180,000 tons of poultry per year. That tariff will be at 0%. But when it comes to beef quotas, for instance, that's a 7.5% tariff that would be applied to 99,000 tons of beef per year. As a point of comparison, in 2020, the EU produced 6.8 million tons of bovine meat. So this quota is in place to make sure that Argentine beef or South American beef isn't flooding the market. Faced with rising costs, European farmers are nonetheless concerned these imports will take away some of their market share in favor of goods that don't meet strict EU standards for health and environmental norms. And that's what the negotiations are currently really about. Countries like Germany and Spain support the agreement as it would boost exports and allow for the EU economy to reduce its reliance on Chinese and Russian economies, especially in the wake of the war in Ukraine. But French President and again French Economy Minister Bruno Le Maire this morning saying that they are siding with protesting farmers and voicing their opposition to the deal, which looks like it will continue being in limbo for even longer. Moving on now to the stock markets. European markets mixed at the open this Wednesday as investors look ahead to a rate decision by the U.S. Federal Reserve tomorrow. The expectation being that the U.S. Central Bank will leave those rates unchanged this month. As you can see, the FTSE in London and the DAX in Frankfurt opening basically stable. The Paris CAC 40 leading the gains up 0.2%. And let's take a quick look at how the Asian markets are faring or have fared this Wednesday. Stocks in the Chinese mainland and in Hong Kong in the red after manufacturing activity in China dropped for a 4th consecutive month, highlighting the country's economic woes. And the Australian stocks here hitting a new record at the close, on the other hand, after the country's 4th quarter inflation rate was lower than expected at 4.1%, the lowest level since the quarter ended in December 2021. You can see the Sydney ASX closing the section up over 1% higher. And finally, Giorgia Meloni came to power in Italy on the back of her hard stance on immigration. Yet, as Prime Minister, she announced that the Italian government will be issuing nearly 500,000 residence permits to foreign workers between now and 2025 through a new mechanism called a flux decree that will establish quotas for work visas. The objective is to deal with the huge lack of labor in certain sectors, notably agriculture and domestic help. Our correspondent in Italy sent us this report.
It's a busy morning on this farm. Here, fruit and vegetables are grown all year round. Stefano Boschetti manages the business. In order to farm his 70 hectares, he needs about 20 employees. Some of them are Italian, but due to the lack of local labour, he also relies on a foreign workforce.
It's difficult to find personnel. Around here there are fewer and fewer people who want to work in agriculture. So we have to go and find workers where they're available. And that's outside of Italy.
His farm is one of 13,000 in the central province of Latina, one of the most important agricultural areas of Italy. Like many farmers here, Stefano is hoping to take advantage of the new decree that allows for the allocation of residence permits for foreign workers. To help him with the paperwork, he has gone to one of the country's largest farmers' unions. 452,000 work permits will be allocated to foreign workers by 2025.
I'm here because I'm looking for laborers. I'll need 5 or 6 people to work in the fields.
In order to register the request, the business must prove it is financially stable and agree to employ the worker for a predefined time period.
Officially, the decree is meant to facilitate legal entry into Italy, but in practice, it could also be a way to legalise the situation for illegal immigrants already in the country. This group of volunteers gives legal assistance to undocumented migrants.
It's a hidden regularization. Workers come here with documents stating they're in their home countries, but they're here standing in front of us. Employers sign the dossiers and help them become legal by requesting their entry into the country, but these people are already working here illegally, as they don't have their papers.
Workers from about 30 countries will be able to benefit from this decree, like Algeria, Tunisia or Senegal.
It's Natalia Mendoza reporting from Italy there.
Charles Pellegrin with today's business update. Thank you very much.